People have asked me to look at Scott John's patch 7.0. I haven't actually seen this yet. I haven't been watching Scott in a while. I know it's a fake patch. Well, for a few reasons, people have already told me. But the fact it says 7.0, we're only in like 5.4 or something at the minute. I'm just going to watch it here, go over it. I'm guessing this is just going to be Scott's ideal patch, like what he would do. So let's just watch it.
Got here. Today we're going to go over patch 7.0,
I'll turn
which
up
is
the
coming out,
quality
I
here.
think, in a month and a half.
All
Once
right,
it's
here
all
we go.
BTB. This
That actually looks
is.
really good.
I skimmed this briefly, and it seems like the best patch this game has ever had. I'm
Like, how did he make
insanely
that
excited
so
for it. I just read some of it.
realistic looking? I don't know.
But let's see. Let's just go over exactly what they. Let me make this a little bit bigger. So you
I'll
guys can
just
see.
make this 25% faster. It's quite a long
Let's
video.
go over what they've actually changed. So first off, huge. Bloodlust has been removed. Bloodlust was a mechanic intended to help alleviate some earlier issues in that.
Yeah, I knew Scott was like sort of against Bloodlust. I don't mind Bloodlust. I think they should keep Bloodlust 1 in the game. I wouldn't mind removing Bloodlust 2 and 3, but I think they should keep Bloodlust 1. It just sort of helps when a survivor sort of holds W, but they're like close enough to be in a chase, so you're sort of catching up, and then by the time you get to like a loop, you get that Bloodlust 1, so it makes it a wee bit easier to catch them. I like Bloodlust 1, but I do agree they should get rid of Bloodlust 2 and 3, because that just sort of promotes gameplay where you'll have like a Leatherface running around the same pallet 50 times and then he eventually catches you.
Rest so the mechanic has been rendered unnecessary. This is something that people have been requesting for a while. The thing is, Bloodlust has been a necessary evil because a lot of maps are so badly designed that you need a basic handicap mechanic to allow you to, be able to down people at certain setups, like Haddonfield, for example. Like the House of Pain without Bloodlust is like, it takes forever. So the fact that they're so confident that they fixed these maps that they don't need Bloodlust anymore is both
Alright, so this
scary
is
and
sort
very
of like a
exciting at the same
hypothetical
time.
scenario in which they
Let's
did
go on.
fix the maps, I
Completely
see.
designed the loop money system. For these guys who know, the loop money system is basically tiles have certain weighting to them. Actually, no, they explain it here. The system has been in place for a random map generation for many years.
Yeah, I know
It
about
was
that
supposed to ensure
there.
extremely
I
strong
think I
setups could not
remember
random
them
spawn.
saying that
Obviously, this
that
was not
one
the case,
time.
and we've
It was
addressed
like
the
an
value of
early
random
dev
tiles in a
stream
more
they
accurate
said
manner.
that,
For example, long
but
wall jungle gyms have
I
had their strength
don't
weighting
really know
increased
how it
from
works, to be
1.2
honest.
to 2.0 in comparison
In
to LT
behaviors
wall,
terms,
which is
anyway.
TL wall, you heathens, have been decreased from 1.0 to 0.8. So I'm not like, I get what these numbers.
Yeah, right. So what he's trying to say there is, in his world, in this Dead by Daylight universe, uh, behavior sort of changed the tiles so that less long, jungle gyms will spawn and stuff, and more stuff like TL walls in terms of map. So you won't have 5 TL walls and like 0 jungle gyms, but you won't have 5 jungle gyms and 0 TL walls. It'll probably be like 2 jungle gyms and 3 TL walls,
I just don't know what they're. I don't get what they're exactly how they're implemented, but
which is a good change. That's something that this game needs. To be honest, I think some loops. I don't think I don't think long wall jungle gyms should even be in the game the way they are. Like they have 0 counterplay if the survivor plays it right. Like a lot of killers can't even do anything about it. If you don't have any of the power, you can't do anything about a long wall jungle gym. Like Blight on Oni, they can't do anything about a long wall jungle gym. Even Huntress, a lot of killers really can't do anything about that loop. I think it's just a badly designed loop, and I don't even think it should be in the game.
basically what they're saying is they're now weighting certain tiles stronger than others. So, for example, a long wall jungle gym is now more heavily weighted than it used to be,
I
which is
would just
good
skip ahead
because
here.
in addition to a more accurate measurement of randomly generated tiles, we've also implemented checks in place to prevent multiple strong tiles from chaining into each other, as the loot money system.
Yeah, so and this here change would also be a good change where it's just sort of you don't have jungle gym into shag into TL wall into jungle gym, but even then, as long as the loops are close enough, it doesn't matter what loop spawns. Like if the loops are close enough, it'll just be busted as shit. Even if it's just a filler palette into like a like a TL wall, like it can be really strong. So even though this change that he's suggesting, like it might solve the issue of shag into long wall jungle gym and shit like that, it just won't solve the issue of the fact that chaining any 2 tiles together just makes most survivors impossible to catch.
The value is spread evenly across the map. That is very good. This means that certain notorious setups like the shack tile connecting into several other structures cannot or should not occur. This is still somewhat experimental, so please bear with any exceptions. Yeah, so this shows that they really understand, like at the high level, one of the main issues in the game.
I would skip ahead again.
All these together with
I don't really
like zero
care
power
that much
usage.
what
It's
Scott
ridiculous.
says.
So
I'm just
the
sort of
fact that
looking at
they're
the
acknowledging
changes
this is
because
actually huge. The effects for the per kindred have now become basic effects as now.
um I know a lot of people suggest Kindred base kit. I'm not against it, but at the same time, I don't think people realize just how strong Kindred is. Like if you have 4 good solo survivors, giving them Kindred base kit, like it might as well be a survival with friends. Like if they have enough game knowledge and they can confirm that information with Kindred and shit like that, like it's really damn strong. Like it's really strong. even with these wee changes that he's making to the maps and stuff like that, I just still don't think that would be enough. Because the gen speeds and all that shit and the loops are still incredibly strong. Given four good survivors. And that's another thing. It's like people always assume that, the survivors are bad. Like when talking about solo, people always assume, yeah, solo players are trash. Yeah, surely that's mostly the case, but you don't buff solos just because they're bad at the game. You know, we don't buff Nurse because she's hard to play. Nurse is a lowest kill rate, but we don't buff her because we know that the reason she's such a low kill rate is because people are terrible with her. But we don't use that for solo survivor. We're talking about changing solo survivors, but we're just saying that because teammates are bad, and I think that's kind of unreasonable. But that's just me. Like, I don't think it would do maybe that much, but with the right survivors, it really could hurt even like most killers.
Shouldn't we have now? The effects of the perk Kindred has now become a baseline feature. In our ongoing attempts to bridge the difference between solo queue and survivor friends, we hope the base or rating of Kindred will minimize the gap without imposing too much additional power to survivors. The perk Kindred now grants all survivors an 8% increase in generator repair speeds, while the killer remains within 12 meters of the.
That Kindred change is alright. I don't think it would do that much. I mean, 8% really isn't that much, especially if the killer's camping. Like, to be honest, if that was in the game, I would actually like it to be more, maybe like 15% extra repair speed, because, I mean, anything to help against these face camping bobbers, like, in fact, I wouldn't even mind that base kit feature, if the killer, even like a base kit feature, where it's like, if the killer has been within like 12 meters of the hook for more than like 15 seconds, survivors start getting repair speed boosts. I wouldn't even mind that just to be in the game. Just anything to make like face camp and Bubba like just less. It's not even strong at the minute, but anything to make it less effective.
Survivor. That's interesting. So it's actually like now by default you can see your teammates which are on the hook. So it's not going to benefit survivor friends at all, but it'll benefit solo queue players who frankly kind of get screwed over quite a bit. And now if like you see a Bubba face camping the guy, you actually all get a generator increase speed or a speed increase. If you're actually using the perk Kindred rather than the baseline feature. That's actually pretty interesting. I kind of like that change. So it de-incentivizes camping because they'll do the gens even faster then. That's interesting. All hooks in the basement are now considered Scourge hooks. This one is, that's a pretty obvious one.
I don't know about that, to be honest. In terms of the whole Scourge Hook things, I like the idea of Scourge Hooks. I like that they're sort of like stronger than the app. Well, they're not even, are they? Gift of Pain is pretty shit, to be honest. Pain Resonance is good. I like it. But Scourge Hooks I like. Um, But instead of making it basement hooks, I don't really like that because that just makes basement like no. Let's be honest, nobody likes playing around basement. Like nobody likes when a killer just basement trapper, basement bobber. No one likes that shit. So we don't want to be giving them. Like it would also limit your scourge hooks. It would limit behavior. Creating the perks. I guarantee you, if they made that change, like later down the line, they'll be like, "Oh, we wanted to make this, but we feel like since it's in the basement, we don't want people playing around that perk, in the basement." Like say there was a scourge hook that said hooking a survivor slows all generator progress by like 50% for the next 30 seconds. That should be a pretty good perk. But they couldn't make that because they say, a Leatherface is just going to hook someone in the basement and then they're going to, they're going to just be able to slow the gens and then, they're not going to get punished for camping. And I just wouldn't like that. In general, I would just like Scourge hooks to spawn more hooks and then maybe fix the RNG a wee bit. Instead of 4 hooks, maybe it spawns 5 and then make it so they're like evenly spread throughout the map. Most of the time, Scourge hooks, you have like 3 in one corner of the map. And when you're there, it's great, you have plenty of hooks, but if you're on the other side of the map, you literally just can't use your perk. So I would like it so if there was 5 hooks that spawned instead of 4, and if they were maybe just there was like a system in place to make sure that they're evenly spread out.
Why they didn't have to begin with. It's like the basement that's supposed to be like the worst place to be hooked. So I think by default they should be Scourge hooks. So that's a great change. This is huge. Boon totems cannot be relit within 60 seconds of them being destroyed by the killer. So this makes it actually kind of worth it to destroy now.
Yeah, I still don't think that's gonna work because it would be fine if it was only one guy with boom perks, but let's be honest, everyone's using boom perks these days. Now, I don't know if what he's talking about here, if like when he says boon totems can't be relit, is that specific to the survivor or is that the totem itself? Because if it's the totem itself, that could be okay. But then again, there's 5 totems. That's not stopping them from just going to a different totem. And if it's survivor specific, then sure he can't relight that totem, but someone else can just come in and relight it. So I don't know. I just think boon totems are terrible. I think they're a terrible thing. People said I overreacted when I was reading the patch notes of the boon totems and all that. People always said, I was a crybaby, I was a killer main. I'm overreacting. They're not going to be that bad, and I was completely right. And they were busted as shit in the PTB. They were game breaking, And now they're in the live server and nerfed. They're still game breaking. Everyone hates them, and they're a terrible, inherently flawed design. And I was right, but I will not go too deep into that. But yeah, I just don't think boon totems are good in general. They shouldn't be in the game. They just shouldn't be in the game. They're either going to be too weak that they're not just worth using, or they're going to have such a strong effect to be worth using. But the thing about boon totems is they're not like hex perks. You can light it wherever you want, so you don't have to worry about it being in a shit spot. They're very strong effects. The killer has to go out of their way to break it, meaning sometimes having to drop a chase. You can relight them. There's just so many upsides to boon totems. There's just no downsides, which is the problem with them. I just don't like boon totems.
Go 5 seconds out of your way to break a totem. Whereas before, it would make no sense because as you break it and go chase someone, another guy just comes and sets it back up again, and you've accomplished nothing. So the fact that there's now like a little bit of, I guess it's going to do like an entity block on it, that little animation. So I think it's a
Yeah,
good
so
idea,
I think
especially if
you
you're in
might be
like a
talking about
smaller
the
3 gen
totem in
setup.
specific,
Not being
but
able to
even
reset a
then,
totem for a full
there's
minute
five
is
totems on the
pretty
map.
easy to
Nothing
concede.
stopping
So
them from putting it somewhere else.
I still hate boon totems, but I think that's a pretty good concession. So that's not bad. Self-healing speeds have been capped. This is literally like I made this. You can no longer have more than 100% increased self-healing speed by any means. This means you can never heal yourself faster than 8 seconds.
That's like I know that sounds good, but let's be honest. Like, when does anyone ever heal himself faster than 8 seconds? Like, I guess that's just to sort of solve. If you're chasing someone with circle healing, they got really good healing build. They can heal themselves, like as you're breaking a pallet. But I don't think that's really the issue. Um, yeah, sure, you can heal yourself in 8 seconds is still incredibly fast. Like, you really don't need to the fastest heal speed only is like 5 or 6 seconds anyway. Like, I think like self heal speed in a reasonable environment. We're obviously not talking about like the best add-ons and the best med kit with, you know, resilience, botany, 4 stacks of desperate measures, and circle of healing active, and dying light and all that shite. But I don't. 8 seconds is still incredibly fast, so this change really wouldn't do anything, to be honest.
Circumstances. This new cap does not apply to the healing of others. So I literally made a video exactly about this, as like this is one of the main problems. Like you shouldn't be able to self-carry
Yeah, we'll
yourself.
just skip ahead.
100% increase or anything better. Added a concede match feature.
Hmm.
This feature may be used by survivors when a survivor disconnects or dies within the first 2 minutes of any match. All remaining players must agree to end the match. This counts as a loss for the survivors who receive 3,000 concession blood points. The killer receives blood points equal to the remaining hook stages left on all survivors in the trial, and the game is considered a win for the killer. This feature may be used by the killer after 5 minutes of match time if they have under 5 hook states. This is intended to be a genuine concession, not an I give up feature. So there is.
It sounds like a decent idea, but I just don't think it would work in practice. Like, I don't think many killers would use it, to be honest. I mean, I would probably no, I wouldn't use it, and I'll tell you why. It says after 5 minutes of the killer's match time. Like, if I'm going to concede a match after 5 minutes, there's probably 5 gens done anyway. So at that point, why just concede? Just play out the rest of the match. And as for survivors, I can see them using that a lot, but I can't see all three survivors, agreeing on it every time. I could maybe see one survivor doing it all the time, but there would probably be people just take the piss out of each other and then never, concede the match, so they're forcing everyone to stay. I mean, it could work, but in practice, I just don't think it would work.
Some requirements in place to ensure players do not give up too easily.
Yeah, we skip ahead
Or you
again.
won with 5 gens up. Like they can't win that shit. That's a really, really. There's like 1 gen left and you got 1 hook. You can just say, all right, yeah, I'm not winning this because in that scenario you're not winning that. So I like how they said this to you where you still have to kind of play the game. You can't just press give up immediately and then
Keep going.
Killers can now select 2 realms. Am I dreaming? What the fuck? Killers can now select 2 realms to never be randomly selected. Map offerings can still force the map for either side.
I've been asking for a change like this for a long time, actually, a map ban feature. Ideally, behavior would just fix the maps in this game, but I really like the idea of that because there's a lot of killers in this game, mainly indoor maps, obviously. If I'm playing Hillbilly, Oni, Nurse, Huntress, Death Singer, Blight, I don't know, half the killers in this game, Demogorgon, Trapper, any of that, I don't want an indoor map. So I'm going to obviously, ban Larry's the game, RPD, shit like that. As Blight, I might ban Swamp because of the terrible collision, unless they fix it. If they ever rework Swamp, I don't know, maybe they just stopped reworking these maps. I would rather they rework maps like that instead of adding shit like RPD and Area of Crews. But yeah, I really like that feature. It's a real shame that 2 realms isn't even enough. Like, even that's being generous, but like Jesus Christ, like at the state of the game at the minute, if that wasn't the game, it should be banning like 5 realms because there's just so many shit maps in this game. Like, if I could have it my way, I would probably just play a Macmillan for the rest of my life because it's the only map that just feels somewhat decent. It's it looks nice. It plays decent most of the time. It's bright enough. It's open enough. Like really good feature, and I would like to see it. But I would also just like to see maps. Just I shouldn't even have to want this feature. That's what I'm trying to say.
Change is intended to help certain killers who are very map dependent, and it should not hamper survivors' play, as survivors are usually minimally affected by the map, as their core
Yeah,
mechanics
that's
are
fine.
all
I
the
don't
same.
think Survivor
I
should be able to
could
ban
not agree
maps.
more. I'm really curious
Would you
what
really
Ian
want
thinks
to
about
ban a
this as a
map with
debate.
Survivor? Like,
That is
I
awesome.
don't know.
Killers now receive a 25% bonus to the total blood points for each survivor in a single group. For example, 2 survivors in 2 groups would yield 50% bonus, while a full. Okay. So it's saying if you have like
I don't like this at all. And I'll tell you why I don't like this. Hypothetical scenario, they did add it so each person of Survivor Friends gives you 25% more blood points. I don't care about blood points. And I think this is where Scott, like, I don't know if Scott, like, actually wants these changes, but I think that would be a terrible change. I don't want them to, give me more shit for going against Survivor Friends. I don't want them to do that. I want them to fix Survivor Friends. I want it to make it so I shouldn't care about going against the Survivor Friends. I shouldn't care if they're in comms. I don't want extra blood points. I don't want my 8k blood points at the end of that 5k match, that 5 minute match, to be doubled. I don't care about that. I don't care about blood points. I just want to be able to have a chance against these, Survivor Friends bringing Haddonfield offerings and shit like that and all these meta perks. I don't care about blood points, and it's annoying because if Behavior ever did add that, they would use that as an excuse. They would say, okay, here's extra blood points. Now we're not going to do anything about Survivor Friends. So Survivor Friends continues to be imbalanced. And now they've got this change. They'll never address Survivor Friends because they'll say, we did address Survivor Friends. You get extra blood points for going against them. Deal with it. I don't like that. I want the game to be balanced. I don't care about blood points. It's why, when Behavior delays share or there's bugs and they say, here's some blood points. They say, take your blood points, shove them up your ass. I don't care. I don't want blood points. I want you to fix your game. I want you to balance your game. That's what I want. I don't want extra blood points. So I don't like that change. And I definitely hope that isn't what Behavior, the route they go down.
if you have like 2 separate groups of 2-mans, then you get a 50% bonus because the highest single group is 2 people. But if you have a full 4, perk tiers have been completely removed.
I mean, yeah, perk tiers being removed. That's welcome change. I don't really care. Like I said, I don't really care about blood points. I have plenty, but yeah, it would be nicer for when you get a new killer, you can just start using the better perks more quickly. I mean, is anyone going to complain about that? I don't think so.
When we first launched the game, we needed a money sink for blood points, and perk tiers were a good way to do that. Now there are far too many.
All right, let's keep going. It really does sound like Behavior. This shit he's saying, like he did these patch notes really well. It does sound like Behavior, but there's wait, he's got it written down here.
Is this actually real? Like what the fuck?
Good acting, Scott.
Okay, let's keep going. Added additional measures to detect impossibilities done by cheating. While this is not foolproof, these measures should detect basic things like enhanced movement speed or having more than 4 perks. Unfortunately, it's nearly impossible.
Okay, yeah, well, I'm not very, well versed in like technology and software and all that shit and hackers and stuff, but I feel like that would work, and I think Scott's pretty knowledgeable on this. But yeah, if there is a system that detects, hey, this guy's moving at 600% movement speed, probably cheating. This guy's healing. That would be good. I would like that stuff, but at the same time, it is impossible to stop cheating. But yeah, like cheats are pretty rampant these days in Dead by Daylight, and some of these Dead by Daylight's anti-cheat is really shit. Apparently, it's really easy to hack in Dead by Daylight, so I would like to see it just be a wee bit harder at least.
And all forms of cheating, but this is an ongoing process that we will not stop improving. That's fair. I mean, there's pretty much no game that has no cheating.
Let's keep going.
So I think that's a good start. We'll see if it actually works or not. But all extremely large maps have had their size greatly reduced. This includes maps such as Mother's Dwelling and Crota's Print Asylum.
Yeah, so that's subjective. Like he says, extremely large maps. In my opinion, every map should strive to be the size of Coal Tower. Like Dead by Daylight is not built for maps to be like any bigger than Coal Tower. And to be honest, even as a survivor, Coal Tower feels fine. Like when you're playing as a survivor, right, and you get something like Coal Tower, you don't go, oh shit, Coal Tower, oh man, no, this is going to be a rough match. You say, oh nice, Coal Tower. As killer, when you get anything but something like Coal Tower, you go, well, let's hope these survivors aren't half decent because I'm going to lose this match. If survivors don't even have a bad reaction to getting Gold Tower, or at least I don't, then just make every map. I'd say make every map between the size of Coal Tower and maybe like 20% bigger than it. That's just my thoughts. I don't think Dead by Daylight is just not built for big maps. They shouldn't be in the game, but Behavior insists on making big maps. Just look at the new map; it's massive. They clearly don't learn, but they should. They should definitely stop making maps so big, and they should just reduce the size of every map down. They shouldn't be big. Just bring them all down to near Kotar. I'm not saying make all the maps as small as Kotar, but I am saying that maps should strive to be as close to that size as possible.
Large maps have been problematic for a very long time as they incentivize the very uninteractive run straight playstyle many players have adapted to. Very true. We hope.
But this wouldn't counter holding W, because the thing about running straight, running early. Like when have you? A lot of you have probably been in the situation where you see a guy in a gen, right, and you're gonna go chase him off it, but he starts running when you're like 15 meters away, and that's a huge issue. And then you sort of have to drop. You stop chasing. You're like, okay, well, if I start running after him, it's going to take like 20 seconds to catch up. And you can do that on any map. You can do that in Kotar as well. These smaller maps. So it doesn't solve the holding W issue because you can still just do it. You know. I just feel like they need to find a way in general to help killers just catch up and move about the map. I don't know what they would do, but they really need to do something because it's such a huge issue. There's nothing worse than going against a team that just stealth out, rush gens, run when you're 20 meters away, and there's really nothing you can do about it. Like, those are the worst games of my opinion and the most boring ones.
Shrinking large maps, the strategy will not be as effective as players will run into a map boundary far quicker if they choose to run directly straight.
You could run into a map boundary,
With
or
this
you could
change,
sort
all
of,
serves
loop
to
around
bridge the
tiles
gap
and shit
between
like
killers
that,
with
and,
strong movement abilities
so the
and
killer
those
can't
who
really
don't.
cut you off.
Change all serves to bridge. It's like a weird sentence. Yeah, awesome. I completely agree with basically everything on this list.
Of course you do, Scott.
I guess these are killer changes now. Legion. Post-fire fatigue is reduced from 4 to 3 seconds. Good, you need that. For each survivor hit during the frenzy, the Legion's movement speed increases by 10% and their terror radius increases by 8 meters.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a buff for Legion, but Legion need a rework. I think their power is inherently flawed. If their power does do damage like it used to, then it's got zero counterplay and is, just, stupid. But if it doesn't do damage like it does right now, then it's just always going to be weak. So Legion just need an entire rework, in my opinion. Like, and let's be honest, are people really going to be that mad if Legion gets completely reworked in its ability? Like, come on. I know there's Legion memes out there, but Legion is not fun. Let's be honest. There's not really much to them. I doubt anyone will miss the creative genius that was Legion if their power got reworked.
So if you hit like 2 survivors, then you go 20% faster and you have 48 meter terror. Oh, so like the detection range is increasing, you can get to them faster.
Now let's skip ahead again.
Increased speed of was losing your terror radius. The disguise was like amazing or anything. Fuck yeah, okay. Yeah, so there's
Remove the
add-ons that
overheat
deal with
mechanic.
that, though.
Oh,
Big
okay.
House Gloves change the effect. The chainsaw no longer collides with the environment. Just like Oni's Demon Rush. I thought it was Demon Dash. Is it Rush or Dash? I don't know. The restricted turning still remains. This will allow skilled hillbillies to curve around.
Yeah, okay, so removing overheat, that really won't do that. Like, Hellbilly's just bad. Like, the more I think about it, like, let's be honest, how often do you really overheat as Hellbilly? Like, you don't really. Like, Hellbilly's just kind of a shit killer, to be honest. Like, he's just really bad in the chase. He's one of the easiest killers to loop in the game, you know? And that's the problem with Hellbilly. Like, Hellbilly's just bad. Gee, like, you could bring back, like, Instasaw and shit like that, and he would still be weak, in my opinion. I don't even think Hellbilly got nerfed that hard. I just think people started to learn how to play against him. People just got better at the game and then, stopped going down to Hellbilly. Like I said, give Hellbilly back his Instasaw and shit. Like you'll see just how shit Hellbilly is. Like he really isn't good. He just can't get your loops. Nothing's stopping you from running to any tile in the game and looping a Hellbilly. Like he can't use his chainsaw at like any loop in the game. And I know people are going to talk about curving and stuff. Countering a curving Hellbilly is the easiest thing in the game. Like you can know when he's going to go for it because he'll start walking back and forth and all that shit. You literally just have to wait till he commits to one side, and then 90% of the time, yeah, you can just go around the corner and he'll miss. But if he does catch out with it, just take a step out from the side of the loop. Hellbillies can't see you when they're going for that curve, and they have to commit to it. So if he's going to curve across a wall, just step away from the wall, he'll go right past you. And then, sure, if he predicts it, but then he's taking a 50-50, which he can get wrong. So Hellbilly's just bad. I like the add-ons though. The Pighouse Gloves actually seems pretty good. Wouldn't mind those in the game right now, to be honest.
Object in a safer manner. Interesting. That's kind of cool for a purple add-on. And then Junkyard Air Filter. I don't even know what that. The shape. Stock speed is now increased the further the target is away rather than decreased. Survivors who have been fully stalked are now permanently visible when the shape is in tier 3. I guess it means their orders are permanently visible. While in tier 3, the shape recovers from stuns 50% faster and breaks pallets 20% faster. These effects do not stack with the perks Enduring and Brutal Strength.
That's alright. I just think stalking should be uncapped. I don't like how with Myers, like, if I find a survivor who's not very good at the game, but I keep stalking them, eventually they'll run out of stock. I don't like that. I feel like you should just be able to stalk survivors forever. I don't think there should be a cap on how many tier threes you can get. Uh, but something like that would be cool. I mean, they just really need to give Myers like a mini rework, keep the same idea with his power, but really sort of change up how things work. How the stalking works. What benefits you get from stalking people. What benefits you get in tier three. They really just need to switch about a lot of stuff with Myers because he is really outdated, but they're just not really doing anything with him.
We wanted to home in on the stalker aspect that has made Michael Myers so iconic. As such, stalking survivors from a distance will now grant evil within at a far faster rate.
Let's keep going. But those changes aren't bad.
So we hope these changes will improve the theming of the shape as well. I mean, it seems like at the very least, this is just an objective buff. You can kind of like brute force some shit now. That's kind of cool. The pig. The first puzzle box never contains the key to remove reverse bear trap.
I don't like that change. Because it just seems kind of redundant. Like I don't know, like oh, the first puzzle box never contains the key. So then, what's the point in the first puzzle box? I don't know. They should maybe make it so you have to get like I don't know. I just don't really like pig, but I feel like with the reverse bear traps should be less of a slowdown tool and more of a lethality tool, in my opinion, just to fit the whole theme better. I don't like how when you put reverse bear trap on someone, you know that there's a 99% chance that they're not going to die, and that you're more just betting on getting a bit of slowdown. I don't really like that. I feel like it should be more like a challenge to try and like. I feel like when you put reverse bear trap on someone, it should be like a mini game for the rest of the match, and it should be like a long process. Like a 5 minute process where they have to do wee tiny things throughout the match, and if they don't manage to do them, then they die. But I would like it to be a much increased chance to be able to die from these reverse bear traps. But that's just me.
Interesting. Increase the movement speed of the pig by 10% while crouching. That's significant. The roar sound effect now plays once the dash has already begun, not when it's starting. Sorry, pigs who like to spam roar.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I get the whole roar sound effect thing. I don't get why Pig's ambush gives you a massive, like telltale when she's gonna do it. Like it's kind of stupid. It defeats the purpose of it. So yeah, that would be a decent change. Um, increase the movement speed of crouching, 10%. Would that make her faster than a survivor? I don't think it would. I'm not sure if Pig moves at 90 something percent speed or if she moves at 80 something percent speed while crouched, but even then, like the whole crouch thing's just nah.
Oh god, pig nerfed. Pig has been very reliant on luck to perform.
Let's just
Pig
skip
won't
through
use the
that.
stealth to make her stealth not a giant waste of time. That's awesome. Deathslinger, damn, movement speed increased to 115%.
I don't like that change at all. I don't think Deathslinger. You all know that I hated the Deathslinger changes. Once again, when I read the patch notes and I said it would kill Deathslinger shit, people said I was overreacting and all that shit, like I said. And now everyone says Deathslinger shite and no one plays Deathslinger. But I wouldn't want them to make him 115 because that would just be shit. You don't take a fun, unique, strong killer, nerf the shit out of them, then make them 115 to make them slightly less shit. That just is boring as hell. If I want to play a 115 killer with a slightly decent anti-loop power, I just play Clown or something. When I play Death Singer, I play him to use the gun, not to just chase people down as a 115 killer. So, what changes do they need to make to Death Singer? Revert the nerfs they did on him. Revert him to he was before the mid chapter for Pinhead. Then give him an at-home pass. And that's what they need to do to Death Singer, not this shit here. I still haven't played him. I played one match with him after the nerf, absolutely despised it, and I'll never play him again. They're not going to revert the nerf, so I'm confident in saying I'll never play him again.
Normal movement speed. After moving the instant feature, you have a range attack. You have to. Ghostface improved reveal logic. This one is.
It's probably quite complicated, that reveal logic, but yeah, not much to say there. Apparently Ghostface is getting like a rework or something according to behavior anyway, so we'll have to see about that.
Fairly simple yet very complicated. I'll believe it when I fucking see it. The Oni. Scalp top not reduced.
I'm pretty sure that's already in the game, but okay.
Dash duration. I feel like I've already seen this.
Yeah. Oh,
Didn't they already do this?
He's just doing that.
Huh. That's weird. Survivor perks.
Let's read these. Left behind, in addition to the hash reveal, your movement speed is increased by 7%. Still going to be a useless part, to be honest, but nah, who cares? Technician removed the regression penalty. Yeah, I don't really see why it has. It's like a beginner perk, so why punish them for being a beginner? Just let the perk do what it does. No Mither, start to try a healthy. I guess that's alright, but at the same time, sometimes there's no Mither, you'd like to start injured so you can get in a gem with like resilience or something and do it faster, but it's alright. Flip flop, remove the range requirement, you heal survivors on the ground 20% faster. Is that not buckle up? I think he's thinking of buckle up. Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure he's thinking of Buckle Up. Yeah, that's alright. Kindred, I've already seen that one. DS now becomes disabled when put in a totem. Alright. Circle of Healing now grants 75% increased speed from down from 100. Yeah, that's not really going to do anything to Circle of Healing. To be honest, you know what I think they should do with Circle of Healing? Keep the 100% increased heal speed, but make it so you can self care. The problem with Circle of Healing is that it allows everyone to self care. That's the main issue with it. You hit someone, they run away, and then they go heal themselves in that in 16 seconds. That's the problem with it. And even if you kept that 100% but can't self heal, it'd still be a decent perk. You could still go heal your teammates in 8 seconds. You can heal up your entire team in a couple of seconds with Circle of Healing. It'd still be a decent perk. But at the minute, the reason it's so problematic is because it just gives everyone like infinite mech hits. That's the issue. And even if it was like a wee bit slower, like 25%, that's a 16-second heal to like a is that a 20-second heal? I think it's a 20-second heal. It's not that much. It's just a few extra seconds. It still wouldn't be good. It still would just be problematic because it puts the killer in a lose-lose scenario. They continue to chase because then they lose all their gens because the loops are busted to shit. So they drop the chase and then he goes and heals in like 16 seconds with Circle of Healing. And now every second he just spent chasing and hitting that survivor is just completely wasted. So the perk is just bullshit.
Perk balancing. Left behind. In addition to the hatch, doesn't know you have no.
So we'll just go through that.
Was move range totem. That one was obvious. I think that grants 75% increase. Killer perks. Beast of Prey. After chasing a survivor for 15 seconds, that survivor can no longer. Oh, because Bloodlust is gone. They have to change this. That survivor can no
Yeah,
longer.
so it's the same perk, just predator scratches are now animated and flow in their direction survivors are running. Alright, so I'm guessing that sort of means there's maybe like a pulse effect where it like goes like towards, okay. Additionally, scratches can now be seen through walls. I'm guessing you forgot to put a range limit on that because it'd be pretty insane if it was an infinite range, you could see them through walls. Why run Lethal Pursuer when you start the game, you can start seeing their scratch marks across the map? So I'm guessing it probably means within 12 meters or something like that. That's pretty good. Would it be too strong on Spirit? No, I guess since Spirit's nerfed, nah. Yeah, that should be a pretty good change.
See your stain until you successfully hit them with a damaging attack.
Lightborn no longer causes flashlight beams to thin. Yeah. Oh, I already thought it did do that. Alright, Strider no longer counter Byron Will. That's okay. Lullaby no longer requires tokens. I'd say instead of removing the token aspect, they should remove the hex aspect, but that's just me. Yeah, either one, to be honest. I just don't like hex perks.
So that was the original duration to get. Yeah, that'll actually be useful. You're able to blind the killer. Oh, okay. So right now, when you have Lightborn and you try to blind someone, your flashlight isn't thin, so you
He's
immediately
going
know
to
they have
bug
Lightborn.
fixes. Is he going to say?
This makes it so
I
they think
guarantee he's
that
going
they're
to
still
talk about
blinding you, but you're
the
not getting blinded.
no
They'll actually
sound
like
on
that
the
a lot.
ground
It
because
makes it
that's
useful as like an
a
aesthetic tool
huge
as
thing
well.
that's been in the game for
That's really
years.
good.
They still
Good
haven't
change.
fixed it.
Strider no longer countered
So we'll
Byron Will.
see
Okay, so they
here.
just reverted effect outright. That's pretty good. That actually is pretty good. I could see that being useful in a couple of builds. Oh, I feel like it's going to be rough on new players, but then again, new players are probably getting 5 stacks of it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. All these perks.
Fixing this shoot costs for to rarely make no sound. Yeah, fixing this shoot cause survivors to be unable to be picked up. That's not a bug. Fixing issue with skull couldn't wait. Alright, yeah, okay.
Severely underused, so we increase survivability, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Bug fixes fix an issue that caused survivors to rarely make no sound while in dying state. Yeah, okay. Fix an issue that caused survivors to be unable to be picked up. Okay, yeah, like when they get stuck on the wall, that's really good. Fix an issue where Scott couldn't wake up. Okay,
Alright, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. I agree with a lot of stuff in this, but I do think some changes I just don't like. I don't agree with. I think they're bad for the game. Like the Death Singer 115. The Survivor Friends giving them a blood point bonus. But other than that, like a lot of these changes are needed in the game, like the loop logic, the maps, stuff like that. I've said it for a long time now. Maps are the biggest problem in this game in the minute. So I do think they need to address like every map just in one update. Just start changing everything, rebalancing loops and shit like that. Then I think this game will be improved a bunch. But yeah, pretty decent. That's my thoughts. Yeah, I think I'll leave it there. I'm gonna see you there.